sharing durian ASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Good morning, this is Arlene, and you're listening to our ASEAN Daily. Of course, we will bring you all the latest news from Southeast Asia and beyond in the Asia Pacific. So first stop, we want to go to China and Hong Kong. This is a news about the missing Hong Kong publisher, Gui Minhai. He was paraded on China TV. So a Hong Kong publisher reported missing last October has appeared on Chinese state TV, saying that he voluntarily handed himself over the authorities. That's strange. And he actually added, saying that he turned himself in after being on the run for 12 years over a drink driving conviction. Mr. Gui Minhai, a Swedish national, is one of the 5 Hong Kong bestsellers to go missing recently. Some in Hong Kong have alleged they have been detained by China because of a book critic because of a critical book that he has been written that is very much critical against mainland China. Thousands joined rallies in Hong Kong last week over the disappearance, saying it amounted to an erosion of freedoms. The Chinese state news agency Xinhua said Mr. Gui, 51 years old, was involved in a fatal car accident in the eastern city of Ningbo, in which a female college student was killed. It said he fled while under a suspended 2-year jail term. He said that he is taking his own legal responsibilities and willing to accept any punishment. Public confessions have long been a part of China's criminal law, but experts say many confessions are false. Mr. Gui was the owner of the Mighty Current publishing house in Hong Kong. He failed to return from a holiday in Thailand in October. Well, activists believe he was unlawfully transported to China because of an unpublished book about the private life of the Chinese president. The 5 who went missing either work for Mighty Current or a small bookstore it owns called Causeway Bay Books. The bookshop is known for selling works critical of China, which are banned in the mainland. These are all the 5 people that mysteriously disappeared in Hong Kong book world. First, of course, is Gui Minhai. He disappeared while staying in Thailand in October 2015. Chinese-born Swedish national owns the Mighty Current publishing house. And second is Lui Bo, last seen in mainland China, just north of Hong Kong in October 2015. He's the general manager of Mighty Current. Next is Chun Jiping, 32, last seen in mainland China in October 2015. It is the Mighty Current's business manager, while Lam Wei King, 60-year-old, last seen in Hong Kong in October 2015, manager of Causeway Bay Bookstore. And the next is Li Bo, also known as Paul Lee, disappeared in Hong Kong in late December 2015. A shareholder in Causeway Bookshop and a UK passport holder. Wife withdraws request for police to help find him in early 2016, saying he has been in contact from mainland China. During the recorded interview, Mr. Gui also asked the Swedish authorities not to get involved. He said, "Even though I am a Swedish national, I truly feel that I am still Chinese and my roots are still in China. So I hope that the Swedish side would still respect my personal choice, rights and privacy and let me solve my own problems." This is what Gui said to the media. A spokeswoman for the Swedish Foreign Ministry said it was aware of reports but not commenting and was seeking clarification from China. On the other hand, we have a news in Jakarta. Apparently, the latest report is the guns used in Jakarta terror attack, in fact, came from the Philippines. Wow. Well, it seems like we are truly a regional nation where everything comes from within the region. An Indonesian official has said that the guns used by suspected terrorists in an attack in Jakarta last week came from the Philippines. A report by Wall Street Journal quoting Indonesian police spokesperson Anton Carlian said that the firearms that allegedly came from the Philippines were, quote-unquote, well built. The report added that according to Charlian, 9 guns seized around Indonesia since Thursday's deadly attack came from the Philippines. Added that information on the firearms' origin came from 12 men arrested during raids following the attack. Well, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or short for AFP, and the Philippine National Police, short for PNP, raised their units' alert level after the attacks in Jakarta, which left 8 people dead. The Islamic State group had claimed the attack, and the PNP said it is still waiting for a formal report from Jakarta. He added that the PNP chief Ricardo Marquez, "We will wait for the report from our counterparts from the Indonesian National Police and we will start checking once we have the documents already." At the same time, he also added that they are definitely looking forward for the document get ready, and it's part of the protocol between 2 countries to share such information. And they will also have a memorandum of understanding with the Indonesian National Police, and sooner they will be able to get these documents. When sought for comments, Communications Secretary Herminio Coloma Jr. said Malacanang is still verifying the information. So hopefully we can hear further reports whether it is interconnected between countries in Southeast Asia when it comes to the Jakarta terror attack. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll discuss further on more discussion on the political side of Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Welcome back. This is Arlene. You're still with me on ASEAN Daily, and I want to discuss further on the Philippines regarding on the South China Sea. It is still an ongoing conflict in this region, and right now the Philippines is planning for a tracking system for civilian flights over disputed area of the South China Sea. The Philippines plans to install a 50 million peso or equivalent to 1.5 million Sing dollar satellite-based system to track commercial flights over the disputed South China Sea. after China's landed its first test flights this month on a reef it built in the Spratly Islands. China's increasing military presence in the Spratlys have stirred fear that it could lead to an air defense zone the country controls, which would escalate tensions with other claimants and the United States in one of the world's most volatile areas. China claims almost the entire South China Sea, believed to have huge oil and gas deposits. But Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Vietnam also have claims in the sea, through which about 5 trillion in trade passes every year. In the absence of a radar in the area, the system will help track aircraft movements, enhancing safety and security, said Mr. Rodante Joya, a Deputy Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines. Mr. Joya said the Philippines would install the surveillance system on the island of T2, calling it by its Philippine name of Pagasa, to track about 200 commercial flights through the area each day. The area in the South China Sea is among the blind spots in the Philippines airspace. The Philippines and Vietnam protested against China's test flights on the Fiery Cross Reef this month, saying Beijing might impose an air defense identification zone restricting flights by commercial airline over the South China Sea. On January 7, China warned a small civilian plane carrying Philippine aviation official who inspected T2, where the surveillance equipment is to be set up this year, as the craft flew near Beijing's man-made island. According to the president's spokesman Herminio Colomo of the Philippines, adding that the foreign minister was expected to make a statement on that matter too, but the foreign ministry have been informed about the reported incident involving their civil aviation team. We move on to another news that is also impacting Southeast Asia, but this time focusing on Malaysia, with the bauxite mining in Pahang. Academic warns that bauxite mining has adverse impact on food chain. A university geologist say the government should make use of the 3-month moratorium on bauxite mining in Pahang to draw up a more stringent standard operating procedure. Associate Professor Dr. Habibi Jamil from the Science and Technology Faculty at UKM said bauxite mining could adversely impact the food chain and should be carried out in isolation. In fact, she said long-term exposure of the chemical elements in bauxite, which can enter the body directly through food, could threaten health. Bauxite had a high content of aluminium hydroxide, iron oxide, and chromium other than clay. These elements are inside the fine dust and can be absorbed into the body through inhalation. Also, when they enter the river or sea, they might be consumed by small marine animals on the riverbed and fish. The chemical then enters the human body, which consumes the contaminated river and marine resources. She said that bauxite in Kuantan contained 32% to 52% of aluminium hydroxide and between 14 and 32 iron oxide, which was what gave Kuantan its planet Mars quote-unquote appearance. Long-term exposure to these elements can cause Alzheimer's disease, while iron oxide, which inhaled, will damage the liver. However, she said it could not be determined whether it was chromium-3, which was not harmful, or chromium-6, which could cause cancer after long exposure. She also said that if the exposure is high, the leaves will turn yellow, the trees will not bear fruit or die quickly. We will take a short break. When we return, we will discuss the economic side of Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, welcome back. This is Arlene and you're listening to Duran ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. Now we will move on to the economic side of Southeast Asia. Oil shock sends Malaysian economy skidding. In the 1990s, then Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad crowned his modernization of Malaysia with a new administrative city of Putrajaya, the world's tallest twin towers, built using the cash from the national oil company Petronas. Until 2014, about a third of government revenues came from petroleum. National, the Soil Malaysia entry in the Fortune 500 list of the largest companies in the world. Petronas, with operations in 50 countries, reported turnover of 188 billion ringgit, or equivalent to 61.1 billion Sing dollar, for the first 9 months of last year. Network profits of 23.8 billion ringgit, but the seemingly bottomless dive in the oil prices over the past 18 months has ended the days of Malaysia living like a trust fund kid. A dim global economic outlook has also depressed another major Malaysian commodity export, palm oil, as its price follows global oil gyration. Malaysia will announce a budget revision on January 28 to take into account lower oil prices, as the current budget is based on average oil prices of $48 per barrel. The government said each $1 drop in oil prices slashed 300 million from its annual revenue. Some leading banks, such as Goldman Sachs, are looking at $20 a barrel as a possibility. Brent crude for March delivery traded in Europe ended the week at $28.94 per barrel. Prime Minister Najib Razak, who is also the finance minister, has touted the 6% goods and services tax as Malaysia's savior. But while last year's introduction of GST will provide a much needed 40 billion ringgit to make up for lost revenue, it would reap out a huge chunk from private consumption. These are some of the key reasons why they are seeing growth slowing to 4% this year from another 5% last year. This is according to Nomura's Southeast Asia economist Euban Paraquils told the Straits Times. Nomura expects just 13% of the government's fiscal revenue to be oil-related this year, based on an assumption of prices average $30 to $35 per barrel. With the same oil prices forecast, Afin Huang Investment believe that without any sharp cuts or other fiscal measures, the fiscal deficit will hit 3.5% of gross domestic product this year. This will surpass the target of 3.1% set by Najib to rein in public debt. We move on to another news, not so good as well, regarding on the CIMB cuts job in Hong Kong Equities Investment Bank unit. The cut, which affected 32 staff, were announced in an internal memo and confirmed by Group Chief Executive Zafrul Aziz on Monday, January 18, yesterday, in a statement emailed to Reuters. Malaysia's second largest bank, CIMB Group Holdings, said it had cut dozens of jobs in its Hong Kong investment banking and equity businesses as it struggles to manage costs amid deteriorating market conditions. The cut, which affected 32 staff, were announced in an internal memo confirmed by Group Chief Executive Zafrul Aziz. And a person with knowledge of the matter told Thomson Reuters publication that the cut accounted for nearly a quarter of CIMB Hong Kong workforce. Following the job cuts, 110 staff remain at the unit, said the source who declined to be named as he was not authorized to speak to the media. Chris Han, CIMB's head of Asian research, was among the staff let go. The Hong Kong expansion for CIMB came after it brought the regional equity and corporate finance businesses of Royal Bank of Scotland Group peak in 2012, a purchase that had failed to generate sufficient revenue for the Malaysian bank. Many investment banks are paring back their presence in Asia, where slow growth in the Chinese economy, market volatility across the region, and a drop in deal volumes have forced lenders to cut costs. Reuters reported earlier this month that Barclays will cut jobs in its Asian investment banking arm, CIMB, which spent the last decade expanding into Southeast Asia, also said in July that 11% of its workforce in Malaysia and Indonesia had opted for redundancy. The group is not spared from the harsh realities of the deteriorating capital markets faced by players with investment banking and equity businesses in Asia. They will continue to face difficult markets and will need to be very focused to ensure that they remain relevant to clients. Anyway, moving on to another news in Singapore as well as JB. New shuttle train service will take Singapore commuters to Johor Bahru in Malaysia. Just 5 minutes. Wow, that's amazing. A new shuttle train service between Singapore and Johor kicked off on Wednesday. The service, called Shuttle Tebrau, is operated by Malaysia's Keretapi Tanah Melayu or KTM and ferries commuters between the Woodlands checkpoint and JB Central in just 5 minutes. The service was popular with Malaysians who took advantage of the quicker border crossing to get to work and school here. Tickets for the first two train services leaving JB Central on Wednesday morning at 5:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. were sold out. There are a total of 7 trips from Johor and another 7 from Woodlands every day. Each trip can carry about 320 passengers. Secondary 4 student Hugh Sin Hui, a Malaysian who studied here, was one of those who took the 5 a.m. shuttle. Usually he would take the bus, and sometimes there's a traffic jam on the causeway. There's no guarantee that he can get school on time, said the 16-year-old. Commuters said the shuttle, which costs 5 ringgit or in Sing dollar it would be 1.79 Sing dollar from JB to Woodland, was more efficient than taking a bus, which could take between 45 minutes to over 2 hours if there was a jam. Shuttle trains leaving for Singapore yesterday morning, however, were relatively empty. On the 6:30 a.m. train, which the Straits Times took from the Woodland, there were less than 10 passengers on board. One of them, freelance photographer Bobby Tay, 68, said the train timing are not so good. They only run during the morning and evening peak hours. The departure time from the Woodland station are 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 9:30 a.m., 5 p.m., 6:30 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. And what we are seeing here is definitely closer ties between Malaysia and Singapore, as well as more economic activities and perhaps boosting the tourism in both countries with the new infrastructure of the train between Johor Bahru and Singapore. We move on to our socio-cultural news. And in Cambodia, mysterious North Korean museum opens there. North Korea's much-delayed museum in Cambodia, one of the reclusive states allies in Asia, is now open to public, but questions as to its true purpose remain. The Angkor Panorama Museum, built and paid for by North Korea, state-owned Masude Overseas Project in cooperation with Cambodia's Episara Authority, opened last month to much fanfare. Many visiting the museum are no doubt curious why North Korea spent thousands or millions of dollars on the tourist attraction. Was it to earn foreign currency, to enhance North Korea's political stature, or simply to showcase North Korea's technology? Yit Chandarot, deputy chief of the museum, said he could see no other reason than seizing a business opportunity, citing that the ever-increasing flow of foreign tourists visiting the Angkor Wat temple complex located nearby. However, he did not rule out North Korea having the diplomatic motive of seeking to maintain its good ties with Cambodia and increase its footprint in Siem Reap well beyond two restaurants named Pyongyang. The museum may also serve to promote North Korea identity, with visitors able to talk to North Korean women working inside, view paintings that depict the North Mountain views, and sample its ginseng tea. Anyway, we move on to our last news of today about McDonald's. Well, McDonald's is changing the way it does its business. Of course, we are all familiar with Big Mac, but quinoa? Well, Big Mac with a side of quinoa, that's world's first McDonald's next, which opened its first restaurant in Hong Kong. McDonald's has always been about consistency, speed, and budget prices. Its golden arches can be neon beacons of hope in a strange land, a place that Americans know they will always get the exact burger and fries, and now, of course, the world over would be quite familiar how McDonald's would feel and taste like all over the world. But in December, McDonald transformed one of its Hong Kong branches into the world's first McDonald Next, an evolved version of the brand that strives to be modern and progressive. Gone are the red and yellow color palette and harsh lighting. In their place, a sleek black and white logo, ambient lighting, glass and metallic interiors, and a salad bar. The unlikely offering is filled with 19 ingredients, including 2 choices of salad-based greens, 2 kinds of cheese, 3 flavors of sauce, and quinoa. Additionally, McDonald's Next is trying to elevate the overall fast food experience with table serving after 6 p.m. and premium coffee blends. The branch, located in the city's Admiralty neighborhood, has been fitted out with mobile phone charging platforms, free Wi-Fi, and self-ordering kiosks. McDonald's did not respond to CNN requests for info on why Hong Kong was chosen as the first location for their new concept and whether they will be opening the new Next restaurants in other cities. So, no more burgers? Well, for those seeking a Big Mac, don't worry. It is still there in McDonald's Mac's regular menu, but offer the branch new Create Your Taste concept, which allowed visitors to customize their burger via touch screen. The CYT, or Create Your Taste scheme, is a global initiative that launched early last year and can now be found in locations in the US, China, Australia, and the UAE. We hope for all the best to McDonald's, but of course, I can't wait to taste quinoa in McDonald's. It's kind of odd, right? But yeah, what's wrong with that? If McDonald's want to be to cater to its healthier clients who want something that would not jeopardize their health regime. Anyway, that's all from today, and thanks for listening to Durian ASEAN. If you love to hear more about us and know more about Southeast Asia, you can always go on to our social media, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and you can definitely look through our website at durianasian.com, and hopefully you have a great day today. Just be happy and don't worry.